Hi everyone, welcome to News Dabs with Jimmy Young for the Cannabis Multimedia Network. The biggest news this week in Massachusetts was the sudden halt to adult use recreational sales at the Alternative Therapies Group in Salem, Massachusetts. It seems there was a tracking error between the recreational supply and the medical supply and their connections to Metric, the state seed-to-sale tracking system that all dispensaries use. Now, the dispensary is pointing the finger at the state, and the Cannabis Control Commission is pointing another finger back at the Salem dispensary, basically saying it was human error. Technology drives us all crazy sometimes, and the medicinal patients at that facility still have access to the products they need. So, how does the media cover this story? Well, let's play Pick That Headline. Headline A, seed-to-sale problem halts recreational sales in Salem, Mass. Or Headline B, pot shop closes. Come on, that's inaccurate, misinformation. Alternative Therapies Group in Salem is also a medical dispensary, and they never closed. They're still open for those services, and it's the mix for medicinal operations and recreational operations that can be overwhelming because it doubles the regulations and the processes involved. It also changes inventory issues. Now, of course, if you're just on the medicinal side of things, you're used to it. A relatively new medical dispensary is in West Bridgewater, Massachusetts, called Alternative Compassion Services. I talked with their president, Stephen Werther, who recognizes the tracking system is in place for a reason.
The systems work if you manage them properly. They work great. We're integrated to the state, can automatically see what someone's limit is, et cetera, so we like it. That part's not restrictive. There are plenty of other parts of this business that are restrictive. That's not it.
Now, there are 48 other active dispensaries who are using the system, and all have to accept the state's meticulous tracking as a way of guaranteeing quality and lineage of the strain of the plant. As for the media, Stephen, like many in the cannabis business, are upset about how traditional media is covering the rollout of the new industry.
The media portrays it in a very negative way, and for this industry, like any industry, to become legitimate, it needs to be treated as such, and the media absolutely does not treat this industry legitimately. They call it a weed, they call it a pot shop. I mean, I don't ever remember listening to the news when there's a story on about alcohol and then referring it to the booze store or the booze shop. So I think it's time for them to step up their game and educate the public in the proper way.
Perhaps with a campaign of public service announcements, for instance, that might just educate the public about the positive things about cannabis. For instance, have you seen the billboard on Route 93 just outside Boston? It's for our friends from Revolutionary Clinics. The message asking the public to use cannabis responsibly. Remember, it's an adult use product. Now, no new cannabis dispensaries opened last week in Massachusetts, but there was another good week of sales among the 8 active ones. Let's check out the Massachusetts State Rec Sales Tote Board. Recreational adult use sales figures since opening on November 20th last year are now up to $41 million plus. As for last week's figures, $4.9 million sold last week alone. Now, having to shut down the Salem's Alternative Therapies Group obviously didn't have too much effect on that other than to keep the weekly total under $5 million. Here are a few items from around the world as we follow the cannabis beat. You might remember that the World Health Organization recommended rescheduling cannabis from its most restrictive status just a few weeks ago. Well, now it's the European Union's turn. They voted a resolution in that would incentivize European nations to advance the acceptance of medicinal cannabis programs for research and for commerce. Back here in the States, William Barr was confirmed by the Senate to be the next Attorney General. Barr is on record stating that he was going to stay away from cannabis businesses in legal states. Certainly an improvement over his predecessor, Jeff Sessions. 2 U.S. senators are urging the FDA to clarify rules concerning CBD infusion in food, beverages, and use in other topical products. They are also looking for a little clarification for the launch of the legal hemp industry and its interstate commerce now that the Farm Bill has passed. And finally, the 91st Academy Awards take place this weekend in Hollywood, California. This year, the free swag bag give out by the Academy will have an assortment of legal cannabis products inside. That includes edibles, topicals, concentrates, and skincare products. So this year, there's no host for the Oscars show, but at least we know now where those host fees went. Should be good for a few good laughs. After all, it's a whole new world of weed out there. I'm Jimmy Young, and this is News Dabs for the Cannabis Multimedia Network. Once again, we leave you with some upcoming events in the cannabis community around the Boston area.